welcome to another Wednesday night, a night with NewsExtra. I'm sure you know how we do it here. We bring you the news with the extra touch. Tonight, we are glad we don't have to begin with the unfortunate event of last week, which we all pray the country will put behind and move forward. So we start with the approval by the federal government for development purposes. Good news, you would say. Of course, the time has come again to remember our fallen heroes, veterans, and all the military personnel that ensure we sleep with our two eyes closed. Mr. President himself, a veteran, kicks the ball rolling. Well, NSAS protest is over, but now we are on end looters, so to say. We have some stories on that also tonight. We have a bit of the budget defense by ministries and parastatals at the National Assembly. Agriculture is on the menu, so is health, and much more. It is a beautiful package, and I am sure you wouldn't go away. Let me leave it at that, for the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar Buba, and this is NewsExtra. You're welcome. The Federal Executive Council has approved 2.9 billion naira for the printing of both sensitive and non-sensitive materials for various examinations in the country. Funds have also been approved for the enhancement of roads infrastructure in the Federal Capital Territory. These approvals were announced at a media briefing after the weekly meeting of Council. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, was the 30th in the series for the year 2020 and 21st to be held virtually in response to the COVID-19 safety advisory. Issues relating to the development of education in the country dominated discussions following a memo by the minister in charge of the sector, Malam Adamu. Consequently, 2.9 billion naira contract has been approved for the printing of examination materials.
The material are for the basic education certificate examination, the senior secondary certificate examination, and the national common entrance. As you know, because of the recent disturbances, we have postponed the examinations that have so far not taken place.
FCT Minister Muhammad Musa Bello has also been granted approval to rehabilitate the road from the palace of Aguma of Gwagwalada that traverses through the premises of Radio Nigeria and to the new market road within the Gwagwalada satellite town at 900.2 million naira. Also approved is the upgrading of the 7-kilometer road from Kwali, headquarters of Kwali Area Council, to Ijafada and Bolo Road at 719.4 million naira.
These two projects are complementary to what the FCT administration is doing in terms of providing even development in the city center, which is the capital city, as well as the satellite towns, so that distribution of population and amenities can be done in line with the Abuja master plan.
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has formally inaugurated the new national chairman of the National Population Commission, Nasir Isa Kwara. Also inaugurated were 11 others as commissioners to fill existing vacancies in the commission. The brief ceremony preceded the meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
We thank Mr. President for giving us this opportunity. We promise nothing but to work diligently, to apply excellence in whatever we do, so that we can assist in managing the population census and other mandates of the Commission, so that we can move the nation ahead.
I want to assure Mr. President and the nation that we will live up to our responsibility and make the nation proud in task that is ahead of us. And our commitment is to the unity of this country.
Established in 1988, the National Population Commission is responsible for, amongst others, conducting national census in the country. Nigeria's last head count was done in the year 2006. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong appeal to Nigerians to desist from actions and comments that are inimical to the stability and prosperity of the country, whose strength lies in her diversity. He said Nigerians' unity has been achieved at great cost and must therefore be guarded jealously by the citizenry. The president was speaking at the launch of the 2021 Armed Forces Remembrance Day emblem and appeal fund, during which he donated 10 million naira in support of the war veterans as well as dependents of the fallen heroes. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again has the report.
Apart from remembering the sacrifices of the nation's fallen heroes and veterans of the various world wars, the Nigerian Civil War, as well as peace support operations, the launch of the Emblem Appeal Fund is also an opportunity to pay tribute to the men and women currently engaged in the battle against terrorism, insurgency, and armed banditry in parts of the country. President Muhammadu Buhari said despite the coronavirus pandemic, these gallant officers and soldiers remained steadfast in the task of restoring peace and national security.
The nation remains grateful for the efforts and sacrifice of the armed forces, especially in the fight against insurgency and other internal security challenges confronting Nigeria. The unfortunate cost of the fight against insurgency and other internal security challenges is the unavoidable loss of lives of some of our officers and men of the armed forces. The reality is that the spouses and dependents of these breadwinners in most cases experience trauma and deprivation. I therefore call on all to spare a thought for them and take positive steps to come to their aid.
While pledging his continued support and that of the federal government to the Nigerian Legion, the president called on Nigerians and other residents in Nigeria to procure and wear the emblems with pride in order to identify with those who laid down their lives for the peace and security of the country. He also made a case for business enterprises to render discounts and rebates to the men and women in uniform as a symbol of appreciation for their sacrifices to the nation. The gesture, he said, will make life easier for them as well as deepen their patriotism.
We are quite aware that it is our responsibility to provide a conducive environment that is devoid of security threats. I want to reassure Nigerians that security, being one of the pillars of this administration, will continue to be at the forefront until peace and security are restored in the country. We will create an environment in which Nigerians and foreigners are guaranteed freedom and returns on investment.
The president described as pleasing that a lot has been achieved in the internal security operations in parts of the country, which led to the return of normalcy, saying government will continue to forge useful alliances towards ensuring total defeat of the security threats affecting the West African sub-region. Defense Minister Bashir Magashi assured the nation that the potentials of the ex-servicemen are enormous and can be leveraged on for national development.
Let us identify with those who daily make sacrifices, including laying their lives for peace and security in our fatherland.
Mr. President, you have cleaned the tears from all the faces of religions. You have paid everything that should be paid in terms of pensions. We don't even have to think about it. Thank you so much, sir.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day will be marked on January 15 with wreath-laying ceremonies at the various cenotaphs of the unknown soldier across Nigeria to commemorate the end of the Nigerian Civil War. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that General Danjuma's formal engagement with the president was the second in 5 months. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors were, however, not made public. General Theophilus Danjuma is the chairman, Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative established by President Muhammadu Buhari. It is an advisory body for all humanitarian interventions, transformational and developmental efforts in the Northeast region of Nigeria. In another development, High Court judges in the Federal Capital Territory courts are now to stop the recording of proceedings in longhand. This is as a result of the installation of voice and video recorders in the courts to hasten the process of litigation. Femi Okeo has the details.
Already in existence in some jurisdictions in Nigeria is the e-filing system, which helps in facilitating the filing of cases before courts. But the major area of concern for years now has been how to reduce the burden of judges in having to record every word said in a court proceeding by hand. Information available to NTA News indicates that only the Lagos jurisdiction has been able to fairly tackle that problem. Now, the FCT High Court has joined in installing recorders in the courts, a process which the Chief Judge of the FCT says should impact positively on justice dispensation.
We have taken the leverages of technology and we are now making the system to be in keeping with international standard. So we now expect judges just to sit down, except where compellingly necessary, just to scribble some few words. But the issue of longhand, we're already gradually doing away with that.
An in-house training is currently on for judges and judicial staff who will help in the effective use of the proceedings recorders. Already, most of the courts have been renovated to accommodate these new devices. But what is most important is the expectation of Nigerians generally and the litigants in particular. They would be waiting to see how these recording devices would impact on the pace of justice system in the FCT. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
It is a job many may not envy because of the storm that comes with it. But if he finds favor in the Senate, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu will stay for another 5 years as the Chief Electoral Officer of the Federation. While you ponder over that, our INEC correspondent Meo Gidi checks the records and finds out that the reappointment will enrich the content of the political history of Nigeria with a new chapter.
A man on a journey to make history and break the jinx in the INEC family. When confirmed by the Senate, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu will be the first INEC chairman to serve twice in the political history of Nigeria. From Justice Ephraim Akpata, Dr. Abel Gubadia, Professor Maurice Iwu, to Professor Tairu Jiga, there was no renewal of tenure. For some, he is the smiling chair. Others describe him as the digital chairman. From Bauchi State and 58 years old, first-class honors in history from the Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, Masters in International Relations from the Cambridge University, PhD in Philosophy and History from the Oxford University at the age of 29, two-time Dean Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences at the Nigerian Defense Academy and former Executive Secretary of TED Fund, and now the INEC Chairman. As INEC Chairman, he knows the terms and conditions of his assignment.
We are not a political party. We have no interest in candidates and parties. We are only interested in our processes and procedures.
One of the things I admire in him is that he's never intimidated.
We in the committee were supporting him to do much better than what he did before, and I'm sure he's good enough for the job.
Pat on the back for Professor Mahmoud Yakubu gives him another ticket to the #1 INEC seat. Here comes the favored child, who will be sitting on the chair for the second time with peel of smile, but beyond the beaming smile lies his plans to earn the title as the digital INEC chairman.
Let me reassure each and every Nigerian that the Commission is committed to expediting the process leading to the deployment of electronic voting machines in elections in earnest.
This is the ballot paper.
And to achieve this, he promised not to engage fly-by-night contractors. As a professor of history, having his name written on the positive side of the political history of Nigeria is a target. And those that will write that history are on the wings, monitoring his activities. Second term in office expects second-to-none performance. Mie Ogidi, NTA News.
Achieving the economic and growth plan of the federal government to a large extent depends on provision of reliable, sustainable and affordable power supply. The Power Ministry is therefore proposing a budget of more than 204 billion naira to meet its target in the 2021 fiscal year. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on the budget defense session of the ministry with the House of Representatives Committee on Power.
Sustaining the improved performance of the power sector as recorded in the last 5 years, from 8,000 megawatts generation capacity to 13,000 and transmission capacity of 8,000 from 5,000 megawatts requires consistency in policy, operation and regulation, as well as financial intervention and support, a commitment so far displayed by the federal government. The Minister of Power, Saleh Mamman, in highlighting the budget performance of the ministry in 2020, drew the attention of the committee to the recent reports of the National Control Center, which gives evidence of improved service in the electricity sector.
Delivering 112,488 megawatt hour of energy on 8 April 2020, while the grid also recorded the highest peak generation ever of 5,420 megawatts on 17 September 2020.
The 2021 estimate, he says, is designed to consolidate on this record by ensuring early planning, implementation and completion of all key projects, which also gives room for adequate monitoring and evaluation. The budget defense session provided an avenue for the committee chairman, Representative Magajida Aliu, and other members another opportunity to propose suggestions that would improve activities in the value chain.
We are going to make a law to disband this banding of power. Power should be supplied equitably to anybody. This segregation must be stopped.
Those projects that have attained maybe 75% and above completion, so that we can easily complete those ones and forget about them.
Both sides were in agreement that renewable energy, small-scale power projects, and the much talked about upgrading under the federal government Siemens agreements will change the narrative in the sector. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now, with the 2021 budget before the National Assembly, the legislators have two options: either to sustain the January-December cycle or risk losing it. But from all indications, the new budget cycle will be sustained with budget defense on course and the various standing committees firing on all cylinders. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko reports that the Controller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service was among heads of agencies who appeared for budget defense and announced that the service is working to ensure that its technology building is commissioned by December this year.
It's been 1 week of budget scrutiny at the National Assembly. At the Senate Committee on Interior was the Comptroller and Controller Generals of the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Nigeria Correctional Service. 72.8 billion is the 2021 budget of the Nigerian Immigration Service, with 53.6 billion to be spent on personnel, including all the 451 foreign missions abroad. 86.3 billion naira is the 2021 budget of the Nigerian Correctional Service.
They are going to give us just a brief snippet to lay the report before us while we go back and look at the scrutiny.
I want the Senate to, whatever they want to cut, they should leave technology for us,
because by December we want Mr. President to commission our technology building. It's going to be one of the best in Africa.
Overhead, which includes running costs and food ration, a total of 19,835,000,000. We have to commend you. If you go to the headquarters of the two organizations, you will be confronted with a galaxy of new structures on ground, which bears testimony to the quality of leadership of the two Comptroller Generals.
Senate Committee on Power drilled the management of the Rural Electrification Agency on its 17.8 billion naira 2021 budget, which allocated 10.9 billion to projects in the states.
If we are doing, for instance, 16 states for 2021, you distribute them according to the zone. Eventually, you take 16, you divide it so that you can have, we'll prioritize it, we'll put the budget, go and work it out and bring it.
I think our submission on Monday will speak both to the 3 billion debt and the ongoing projects within the states.
The Director General of the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, Professor Haruna Muhammad Sani, provided the rationale for the agency's 3.9 billion budget.
The person that has gone to learn how to manufacture aircraft, where is that person applying that knowledge?
In fact, where we have automated machines to use to do this fabrication, the people teaching us are even working manually. It's not that we don't have the facilities.
While the Senate Committee on Sustainable Development Goals deferred the scrutiny of the 2021 budget of the Office of the President on Sustainable Development Goals to enable the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs attend in person. At the moment, more than 10 ministers and heads of departments and agencies of government have appeared before various standing committees of the Senate to defend their 2021 budgets. This budget scrutiny is expected to last for 3 weeks. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Government-owned media agencies must come up with initiatives and concepts that will place them at par with their international counterparts. This came up at the 2021 budget defense of agencies under the Ministry of Information and Culture at the National Assembly. Adebola Brooksley Sunday has that report.
It is a goal! Broadcasting the world over is transiting from radio or TV box to mobile devices. In defense of its 2021 budget of about 7.2 billion naira, Executive Director Programs Wole Koka, acting on behalf of the Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, said NTA is working tirelessly to meet the expectations of the people in terms of new media, while ensuring that its presence is felt in all parts of the country.
We are presently on a lot of platforms. There's one we advertise every time, where you can watch us on the go. You know, wherever you are, even right here, if you have a strong internet, you can watch NTA.
The NTA management team also tabled before the committee its efforts on saving costs by engaging local satellite service provider.
Nigerian communication satellite, in compliance with the Executive Order 005. And the benefit of it, the Nigerian satellite works effectively and efficiently. And the advantage is that you pay in naira.
On the recent NSAS protest in the country, National Film and Video Censors Board said it's doing a lot to stop movies that can trigger violence in the country.
Now we have spy police. There is a film that was supposed to be held. In the course of all these things, we have to put it down.
The committee wants the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria to justify its personnel costs with more productivity, while Voice of Nigeria clamored for a stop to proliferation of radio stations in the country.
They are chasing the same audience with us, and they can't reach where we are reaching, and they have our correspondents, and we report them on the multimedia we have today.
9 billion naira. It's a lot of money. As far as I'm concerned, we just have to be innovative, please.
As a nation, we still need a radio station, because when you are in your car, you are not able to use a mobile phone. we are not able to do anything. And most of us go into our car, we listen to radio there.
It's been proposed for 2021 fiscal.
News Agency of Nigeria also defended its 2,148,000,000 naira proposed budgets. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Away from budget defense reports now. As Muslims in Nigeria join others all over the world to mark the Eid al-Mawlud, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged all citizens to use the occasion to reflect on the virtues of the Holy Prophet by showing love and understanding to fellow citizens while exhibiting patience, honesty, sincerity, kindness, and generosity in all undertakings. In a message to Muslims commemorating the birthday of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is being marked as public holiday, the President urges all citizens and the youths in particular to shun all negative tendencies as manifested in the recent hijacking of peaceful protests to loot and destroy public and private property. The President reiterated his earlier promise to bring police officers responsible for misconduct to justice. President Buhari advised Nigerians to continue to observe the COVID-19 protocols of social distancing, wearing of face masks, and washing and sanitizing of hands. For more messages on Eid al-Mawlud, let's join Ruth.
The All Progressives Congress has joined Nigerians and Muslim faithful all over the world to celebrate Eid al-Mawlud, which commemorates the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. APC, in a statement by its Deputy National Publicity Secretary Yakini Nabena, urged Nigerians to use the occasion of Eid al-Mawlud to pray for peace, progress and unity of the nation and allow themselves to be influenced by the great virtues that the Holy Prophet epitomized by imbibing the true meaning of piety, sacrifice and patience. The APC also appeals for peaceful agitations and engagements on all sides and wants citizens and stakeholders to take advantage of the judicial panels of inquiry and restitution being established in states. Similarly, Muslim faithful have been enjoined to emulate the examples of Prophet Muhammad to create the desired peace and tranquility in the society, especially at this period of challenges as they celebrate the 2020 Eid al-Mawlud. In a statement, the Court Marshal Boboye Oyemi says the world requires selfless and committed individuals to promote peaceful coexistence among peoples of the world, urging all Muslims to use the period of the holiday to pray for harmony, peace and understanding among the people of Nigeria. On traffic movement during the celebration, the Court Marshal assures members of the public that despite the situation in the country, adequate arrangement has been put in place to ensure that movements are free and safe, as members of the public are advised to call the FRSC toll-free line 122 displayed on the screen for prompt response in times of emergency.
Thank you, Ruth. We'll take a short break now. When we return, as the floods go down next.
Load recharge card, I beg. I don't find the money.
Plenty day to win for the 9 Mobile Mega Millions promo. 1 million naira for one person every day for 90 days. 2 smartphones every hour, every day for 90 days. 10 million naira star price today. New customers just come with side or buy a new line and we go send you free 1 gigabyte plus 500 naira airtime. So make you the recharge 200 naira or more. Make you for the win.
9 Mobile. And on the Premier League Live, showing on the NTA network from 3:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank and Babai Jebu.
Welcome back. No fewer than 2,800 persons have been captured to benefit from the first batch of the federal government's grant for rural women in Zamfara State. Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Umar, who launched the disbursement of the grant to the beneficiaries in Gusau, said the project is part of the initiative of the Buhari-led administration geared towards lifting 100 million Algerians out of poverty by the year 2030. Haliru Mohammed Umar has more.
The Grant for Rural Women program was introduced by the federal government to sustain the social inclusion agenda of the Buhari-led administration, including the realization of the national aspiration of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. The program is designed as a one-off grant of 20,000 naira to each of the captured poorest and most vulnerable women in rural areas across the country. The Minister for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, who flagged up the distribution of the cash to more than 2,800 beneficiaries under the first phase of the project in Zamfara State, said the program is expected to increase their access to financial capital required for economic activities, thereby improving their standard of living. Zamfara State Governor, represented by Secretary to the State Government Bala Bello Maru, eulogized the unwavering commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to providing succor to the common man in the country, saying the state government would continue to complement such wonderful initiatives for wider coverage. More than 130,000 women are currently benefiting from the federal government conditional cash transfer from some 6 local government areas of Zamfara State. In Gusau, Halil Muhammad Umar, NTA News.
In another development, the federal government has drafted a new policy guiding production, processing and editing of genetic materials in plants. Thus, the government believes will provide effective gatekeeping against influx of GMO food into the country. Musa Babaliu will fill us in on this.
Processing and importation, including export of genetically modified crops and plants, are illegal without the approval of the federal government. This is captured under the National Biosafety Application laws of the country. However, the document did not make a specific pronouncement on gene editing or plants that their DNA have been edited.
The gene editing products in other countries are not regarded as GMOs. They're regarded as non-GMOs, especially if it doesn't involve foreign DNA. The guidelines is not only...
It is as a result of this that the federal government, with the support of NEPAD, developed a policy document that will guide researchers and scientists who will venture into gene editing of crops and plants.
If our national biosecurity is not taken seriously, it could form a great national security threat by using the use of biological agents that can be harmful to the environment and human health.
So the regulation is a welcome development to make sure that all products and their processes through which they were created are all safe.
Even though plants that their gene have been edited are not classified as GMO, however, no person or association is allowed to plant, market, process the produce without the approval of the federal government. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
And we'll take you to Jigawa State now. Strategies are being mapped out for rice farmers to plant twice within a space of 6 months to bridge the deficit created by floods in rice-producing areas of the country. This development is coming as a relief to farmers in Jigawa State, projected to have lost more than 200,000 hectares of rice farms in this year's wet season farming. Bashir Ibrahim Nababa has the details.
Recent survey shows that more than 120,000 hectares of rice farms were submerged by flood along Ringim-Hadeja corridor in Jigawa State. This picture says a lot about how the farmers are making efforts to evacuate what remains of the produce from the flooded farms. Some of the farmers who recall their ordeal indicate their determination to leave the event of the past behind them.
Government is trying to give us loan and inputs, but we are always witnessing this setback. So we want government to come in and reduce the burden by giving us a waiver and necessary incentives. We want government to look at the possibility of reducing the loans given to farmers to enable them to concentrate on the dry season farming.
da gwamnati ta dora musu na kungiyar manoma ai kaga an taimake su.
For now, the farmers are beginning to see positive response on the part of governments and relevant stakeholders on plans of action put in place to mitigate their predicament.
Precisely the factor that we call this blood is the release of water from two dams, Tiga Dam and Chala Gorge. They return the water up to the time the rainfall comes so heavily. If it had been released during dry season to a level that could be maintained by the dam, that would have been better for us.
We are talking with the insurance companies, and the insurance companies are going around to assess the extent of the losses from our farmers. They are working with us, but the most important thing is the determination of the farmers to go back.
From Duse, Bashir Ibrahim Nababa, NTA News.
The food basket of the nation. We all know it. Yes, Benue State. The state produces variety of crops in large quantities, hence the appellation food basket of the nation. These crops should serve as agro-raw materials to feed processing industries. However, lack of processing industries in the state has given rise to post-harvest losses and hindered the socio-economic development of the state. BEM Haya, in this report, examines the need for processing industries in the state.
Successive administrations in Benue State have taken steps to address the lack of processing industries in the state by establishing industries such as Taraku Mills, Kasanala Yam Flour Industry, Mega Food Tomato and Mango Juice Factory Wanune, Lobi Cassava Industry and Ben Fruit Juice Factory, all in Makudi. Some of these industries were at various stages of being completed, even as others that were functional in the past have become moribund.
As long as the civil service looks upon government companies as a source of private wealth, so they mismanage those companies.
Benue is called the food basket of the nation, and rightly so, because it produces a variety of crops in large quantity. However, over time, farmers have been grappling with challenges such as the use of rudimentary farming methods. However, recently, the Benue State government says it has finalized plans to concession these industries to private sector operators for better service delivery.
We have gone into partnership with a company who have taken the Kasanala Yam Flour industry on a lease arrangement. They are going to complete it and then manage it.
The Benue State University and the University of Agriculture, all in Makudi, have been collaborating in assisting farmers and industrialists in food processing to prevent post-harvest losses.
There are food vendors who deal with food for consumption. Many a time they don't know how to handle this, and so we did some short-term training for food handlers. That's the direct benefit of people from the state.
The issue of curbing post-harvest loss as one of its major mandates. And the university is collaborating with the Benue State University.
Hopefully, when the process of concessioning these public-owned industries is finally completed, it will develop the agricultural value chain and give farmers value for their labor. In Makudi, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
The 2020 Director General's selection panel of the World Trade Organization has adopted the candidacy of Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. This is coming as the United States says it has not endorsed the candidature of Okonjo-Iweala despite her cross-regional support. Adebola Brixlin Sunday reports.
The race for the post began when the former Director General, Roberto Azevedo, resigned in August, a year before the end of his tenure.
7 years ago, we had a different conversation. It was the beginning of a journey. Now this is the end of a cycle.
3 stages are normally involved in the race, from nomination to campaigning and the final stage. The first round of the succession process began with 8 candidates. They are Dr. Jesus Kuri of Mexico, Abdelhamid Mado of Egypt, Tudor Uliavoschi of Moldova, Yumu He of Republic of Korea, Amina Mohammed of Kenya, Mohammed Maziad Al-Tuwahiri of Saudi Arabia, Dr. Liam Fox of the United Kingdom, and Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala.
Leadership as quickly as possible to be able to make sure the WTO contributes what it can to the multilateral trading system, and that in turn contributes to a recovery of the world economy. 5
candidates made it to the second round, after which members of the organization gave their preferences to streamline the candidates down to 2 for the final stage, seeing Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala and Yumu He emerging. After the last consultations by the 164-member organization, Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's candidature was adopted. Before now, Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala has enjoyed the endorsement of President Muhammadu Buhari, ECOWAS, African Union, and the European Union. However, this certainty is being threatened by United States' stand that it is not in her support, despite her cross-regional endorsements. Analysts say this move could undermine the global trade body as it seeks to select a leader. November 7 has tentatively been slated for the official announcement of the selection. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Let's talk health now. Prevention, early detection of COVID-19 infection and prompt intervention are critical for the survival of cancer patients in the COVID-19 era. This explains why the 2020 Cancer Week in Nigeria is with the theme Cancer in Nigeria in the COVID-19 era and beyond. Basi Taipang reports.
Statistics show that cancer has become an emerging disease, making it a serious public health concern in Nigeria. Cancer contributes to an estimated 70,000 deaths annually. This experts say is further compounded by the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the health system.
Therefore, a well-thought-out strategy and strategic steps need to be taken to forestall the unacceptably growing trend.
Breast cancer has also remained the commonest cancer in Nigeria and is still on the increase. This therefore behoves on women to go for regular screening. The Minister for Women Affairs, Pauline Talin, who was represented, said their ministry will continue to create awareness for women and girls and work with all relevant bodies in the fight against cancer. Development partners also stress the need to collaborate with the federal government towards eliminating cervical cancer by the year 2030, in line with WHO declaration.
Cancer is preventable. At least 33% of all cancers can be prevented by avoiding the risk factors, which are behavioral and dietary.
A national training manual, data tools, and job aids for secondary prevention of cervical cancer in Nigeria was launched as part of the activities marking the 2020 International Cancer Week in Nigeria. Basi Taikban, NTA News.
In the meantime, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa self-quarantines as COVID-19 fatalities in Europe dwindles despite surge in infections. Uche Ogochukwu updates us on the global pandemic.
Reports from South Africa says President Cyril Ramaphosa is self-isolating after a guest at a dinner he attended tested positive for COVID-19. The president's office said he is not showing symptoms and will perform his duties in isolation. Africa is so far left with 276,725 active cases out of the 1,749,914 recorded coronavirus infections. Europe is seemingly drowning in the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic, but recent case and fatality figures from the European
of the major factors affecting many communities in the world and currently attracting concerns of key players in the information and communications cycle to secure the online space against explosive contents that could degenerate to avoidable crisis. In Nigeria, the scenario of falsehood and inciting materials played out during the NSAS protest, incurring monumental losses for the country. Abakar Usman Akwanga reports that the negative practice attracted attention of guests on NTA's Tuesday Live.
In the wake of NSAS protest, Nigerians suffered consequences of falsehoods and hate content from the social media space, with unverifiable and inflammable messages spilling violence across major cities, with massive looting and destruction of public and private assets. This state of numbness many believed was avoidable lasted for about 3 weeks and triggered a major shake-up in the realm of information, with untidy and untrue stories sprouting on the social media platforms to create wrong impression of happenings and preach hate and incite citizens against each other.
Nothing called professionalism, there's nothing called gatekeeping processes, and the producer himself is not in any way a professional, it's just a quack, sometimes masquerading either as a blogger or as a journalist.
Guests say governments at all levels should leverage on relevant laws and formulate policy frameworks to regulate activities of multitude online users who abuse the media ethics to influence negative practices for unspecified reasons. The menace of fake news and misinformation occupied minds of guests and profile solutions on how to engage youth to explore enormous potentials inherent in the social media space.
The strategy for regulating the social media, especially for hate crime, which is where much of the focus is, because hate crime has collateral damage in terms of mobilizing people to commit hate crimes. Hate speech can lead to even war, can lead to genocide, ethnic cleansing. So the focus has been to ensure that platforms that can broadcast attract.
This is something that is not untrue, being presented as true, being presented as news. And that is why you see that the concept of it itself, it gives you about 3 different concepts of fake news. One is about disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation.
As stakeholders are sustaining conversation on ways to decongest the social media space with unnecessary items and promote best media ethics, it is expected that the essentials of social media will not be compromised. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
So another interesting one now. In what looks like a U-turn from being unruly to being obedient, suspected looters of both government and private property are already returning the stolen items ahead of the Thursday's impending door-to-door search directive of the Osun state government to recover looted items from suspected hoodlums. Correspondent Tokwe Alabi reports.
A 72-hour ultimatum given the hoodlums by Governor Gboyega Oyetola on Sunday became necessary following the looting of government and private properties across the state.
I don't think it was wise for people to have gone to break into those places.
Aware of the full wrath of the law that awaits defaulters, many people in the last 48 hours who are in possession of the looted property are already returning them.
I understand that this is just about 20% of the item voluntarily surrendered by the people who looted the various warehouses. The intention is to assist the owners of these goods to have the opportunity of getting their goods back.
Items worth millions of naira have so far been recovered by the Joint Task Force and local vigilante groups working in conjunction with the recovery committee set up by the governor, while the Osun State Command of the Police has also paraded some suspects arrested in connection with the violent protests and looting.
A total of 87 suspects have been arrested, and some of those things looted we are still recovering. Those who are found culpable will be charged to court after the conclusion of investigation.
While the 72-hour ultimatum expires Wednesday midnight, there is an appeal to others to do the needful.
We've been moving around to pick all these properties from where they have been dumped. And with this amnesty, it's yielding a positive response.
Recovery of looted materials is still ongoing at the Government House Pavilion, where the governor created for those who are returning the stolen materials to do so on time before the house-to-house search for those materials begins. In Osogbo, Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
And from Osogbo, we'll take you to Lagos. The excitement among Lagos indigents is palpable as those that desecrated their Oba's palace have returned the staff of office carted away amid the violence that trailed the NSAS protest in the city. John Adams reports.
Last week, the Lagos Royal House and the entire kingdom was left in shock over the removal of the Oba of Lagos, Kabiyesi Akiolu's symbol of authority, from his palace by a group of suspected hoodlums who hid under the NSAS protest to wreak havoc in the palace. The monumental arson committed went viral on the social media. The white-cap chiefs of Lagos held meetings to address this sacrilege. Few days after, the Erelu Kuti of Lagos brought the cheering news that the staff of office, which symbolizes the authority of the Oba of Lagos, has been returned by those who made away with it.
We have a balance. Oriade is whatever belongs to the palace, whatever belongs to the crown, will never stay out. If it is taken out by mistake, it will be returned, and it will be back in the palace.
Meanwhile, rituals for the return of the Oba to his palace is ongoing. In Lagos, John Adams, NTA News.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Musa Bello, has assured residents that the administration, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, will provide adequate security at the Idu industrial area. The minister gave this assurance when he led heads of security agencies on an assessment visit to the area. Shuaibu Onoze Yakubu tells us more.
OCT Minister Mohammed Musa Bello and top security chiefs inspect the vandalized warehouses to ascertain the enormity of destructions. He promised to work in collaboration with other critical stakeholders to ensure that Idu Industrial Zone is safeguarded, and also pledged to engage communities to avert reoccurrence of the unfortunate incident in the territory.
We are going to work with all the relevant stakeholders to make sure that Idu Industrial Zone is protected, particularly because it is the economic nerve center of the city, and it's also a center where hundreds and probably thousands of people are employed if you look at the entire manufacturing value chain.
FCT Commissioner of Police Bala Chiroma disclosed that the command will deploy more of its officers to protect lives and property in the affected areas.
I will consider it very important that we are able to put a stop to what has happened, get to the bottom of the matter, get whoever is responsible for this and ensure that he is brought to justice. I will also realize that there is need for us to ensure that other investments that were not affected this time around are properly secured. This wise, the task force on security will make adequate deployments.
We will advise them, because if you pinch yourself and feel pains, you feel somebody's own, you feel the same pains. So they should shun such ugly act.
Meanwhile, chairman of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has expressed delight over the minister's visit, raising their hope to invest more in the FCT. Shuaibu Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
520 suspects have been arrested for various offences of arson, vandalism, robbery, and unlawful possession of firearms during the NSAS protest in Lagos State. The State Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, while parading the suspects, appealed to Nigerian youths to desist from acts capable of causing unrest in any part of the nation. Nosa Osla reports.
While stating the facilities affected in the state, the Commissioner of Police stated that the command swung into action and was able to recover some of the stolen items and arrested the perpetrators.
Yes, from my own, it's true. Inside ShopRite, Body Thomas, carry what does not belong to us.
Where you get the uniform from?
No, I know where uniform. Now, like this, and tell me, OPC 9 catch you. OPC 9 catch you.
The Commissioner of Police assured residents that the arrested suspects would be charged to court.
Thorough investigation into the cases has commenced,
Members of the public should be rest assured that progresses of this will be put in public domain. I'd like to appreciate officers and men of this command for their doggedness, their gallantry, and commitment to maintain law and order and restoration of normalcy to the state.
Odumosu urged residents to be law-abiding and continue to cooperate with the police. In Lagos, Nosa, Osula, NTA News.
Commuters in Lagos now spend hours on the road as a result of few commercial buses operating within the metropolis. Abolade Salami reports that most bus operators have increased their fares by 10%.
The situation out here is not palatable, as most commuters said to us that it is very, very difficult to get a bus to move them from point A to point B. Some said to us that they've been here for close to 30 minutes, some 45 minutes, and as a result, they had to trek meters to see if they would be able to get a commercial bus to move them to their destination.
Transport has been very, very mad. Like Lagos these days, everywhere has been hectic. There's no transport. We've been trekking. You can see my bag. I've been trekking down all the way from 1 kilometer down here.
The ever-busy TBS Motor Park was almost a shadow of itself, while the Falomo Underbridge in Ikoyi had little or no passengers. The only vehicle we saw operating there were private cars who came to the rescue of stranded passengers.
No sufficient vehicle. If it was there when we have keke, I would have taken keke, dropped there, then from there I pass to where I'm going to. It's critical because we don't have sufficient vehicles on the road again like it used to be before.
The very spot I'm standing on, usually is always a beehive. But as you can see from my rear, we have just few commuters waiting for buses in Lagos. Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Thank you, Abolade. In line with the federal government's directive, Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed has inaugurated a 17-man judicial panel of inquiry to investigate cases of police brutality in the state. Abbas Mekano reports that the panel is under the chairmanship of Justice Habibu Idris.
Under my consideration, the panel, with Justice Habibu Idris Shell as chairman, is to submit its final report in 6 months' time and expected to submit progressive reports on a monthly basis. Judicial panel's terms of reference include, among other things, to receive written and oral evidence against SARS brutality in the state, identify those responsible for the abuse of human rights among members of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and to recommend appropriate compensation to the victims.
Your appointment into the panel at this crucial moment is based on your conviction, our conviction that you will squarely face the assignment with all sense of dedication, commitment, justice and fairness, and as well as patriotism. We have also taken cognizance of your cognate background and your antecedents and pedigree, and knowing each and every one in person as a governor, I knew you would deliver the mandate given to you.
The panel chairman, Justice Habibu Idris Shell, appreciated the governor for finding them worthy for the job and promised to justify the confidence reposed on them. In Bauchi, Abbas Mekano, NTA News.
And the Ogun State government says it is untrue that any COVID palliative warehouse in the state was looted by hoodlums during the NSAS protest. Governor Dakpo Abiodun, who debunked the rumor in Shagamu at the NYSC camp, COVID distribution palliative warehouse, urged journalists to always...
And I saw the queue was not that long, so I decided to join.
This morning I was listening to news when they were complaining that the tankers, some of them were attacked by the hoodlums.
Some station managers say the scarcity is as a result of inability of truck drivers to deliver the product to their respective destinations due to fear of being attacked by hoodlums, and also the curfew imposed by some state governments.
I believe there are still filling stations that have fuel, but they are not selling. They are not ready to sell. They are not ready to sell.
There is fuel. There's no reason for panic buying. Look at my trailer just arrived. Any moment from now, I shall start discharging. And the remaining product that I discharged yesterday, you can see I'm here selling it. So by God's grace, the situation will come down.
Why the petrol stations were seen dispensing the product with the government-approved pump price, Some black market operators use the opportunity to make a quick business. 3,500 naira per 10 liters. In Abuja, Suleiman Tob Abdullah, NTA News.
Meanwhile, rumors and speculations have resulted in panic buying of fuel by some motorists in Kaduna, in spite of the reassurances by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC that it has enough liters of the commodity in its reserve. Abdullahi Mohammed sends the situation report.
Early hours queues, buying in kegs, and commotion in the process of gaining entrance to the filling station.
Honestly, I'm a bit panicking. There's been a rumor that there's possibility that there will be scarcity.
I'm just coming from the market, so I saw crowds, so at least that's what scared me, so I have to branch and buy.
The scenario is, however, different in other parts of the city of Kaduna. Here, the filling stations are begging to be patronized. Only a handful of customers are being attended to, while some of the filling stations are empty.
Well, it is a different ball game here. In this part of the city, almost all the filling stations are selling without any form of commotion. This is an indication of the fact that those that are buying based on panic are reacting to fake news and rumors. In Kaduna, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
And Nigerians have been urged to desist from entertaining fears over fuel supply or industrial action by the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG. Annie Daniels reports that the Southwest Chairman of NUPENG, Comrade Tayo Aboyeji, while reacting to rumors making the rounds about an impending fuel scarcity in some parts of the country, gave assurance of availability of petroleum products across the country.
Southwest of the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, Tayo Aboyeji says the NSAS protest no doubt affected the distribution of petrol in the country, especially because of the curfew imposed by many states to discourage violence.
But what I can assure you, and that I know quite all right, is that the petroleum tanker drivers are loading from all the depots in Nigeria. All the depot that is viable, I mean, the product is available, they are loading there. So if there's any scarcity at all in any part of the country, maybe as a result of the holiday forced on us by the anti-SARS protesters.
Aboyeji added that no petroleum depot stopped loading petrol even while the NSAS protests were ongoing. To ascertain his claims, NTA News visited their Apapa depot. I'm standing right at the Total Terminal 1 depot here in Apapa, Lagos. And for the number of minutes I've stood here, I've seen nothing less than 10 trucks driving out. When I asked some drivers who declined speaking on camera where those trucks were heading to, they said we are going to different parts of the country, including Maiduguri and Abuja. Furthermore, they told me that between today and Friday, states that I would have petrol are sure to get enough of the products. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Nigerian youths have been urged to embrace peace and shun acts capable of destroying their future and sanctity of the country. Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, gave this admonition when he received the new Emir of Zazzau, Ahmed Nuhu Bamali, in his palace. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports.
Kano and Zazzau Emirates have a long-standing relations that provides mutual understanding and peaceful coexistence among its people. The reign of late Emir Ado Bayero and Sheikh Idris was a typical example to emulate. It is for these reasons that the new Emir of Zazzau, Ahmed Nuhu Bamali, is in Kano for a working visit to strengthen the understanding that exists between the two emirates. Emir Bamali further acknowledged the support and prayers accorded him from Kano Emirates during his emergence as the 19th Emir of Zazzau. While stressing the importance of peace among Nigerians, Emir of Kano Aminu Ado Bayero, on his part, maintained that no nation can progress without peace, hence the need for traditional rulers to sue for peaceful coexistence at all times. Emir Bayero, while congratulating Ahmed Nuhu Bamali, assured him of Kano Emirates' support to pilot the affairs of his fatherland. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Yesterday is past and tomorrow is the future. But when the past is not conserved, evidence is lost. It is against this backdrop that UNESCO is canvassing the collection and conservation of audio-visual heritage globally. In this report, Adebola Brooklyn Sunday takes a look at the need to preserve the heritage that brings people's cultures and sensibilities together.
The climax of Independence Day was reached.
Memories like the independence ceremony in Nigeria, establishment of first TV outfits in the country, how Nigerian flag was designed by Pataiwo Akinkunmi would have been unbelievable stories without records. Realizing the resultant atrocities of the Second World War, when all assets stored in different files scattered around the World Day for Audiovisual Heritage was established for the preservation of these records. UNESCO says it will take more than 10 years to safely store all the audiovisual heritage in the world. These audiovisual archives, such as films, radio and TV programs, audio and video recording, no doubt help people to understand their history.
They bear witness to the political, economic, social and cultural events.
Garba Umar is the manager production services of the NTA with about 20 years of experience.
The issue of transition from one format to another had to be brought to make sure that we lose nothing in the process of transition. Management is doing a lot by providing us with machines to transfer. We have tapes, and then they've been supplying us with space because you know the issue of conversion needs space.
I was led to the National Film and Video Censors Board's library, housing about 30,000 film and video in CDs and VHS form.
We're still in the process of putting each and every one of it into it. By 2021, we need to do the digitalization and even moving into high cloud. But then it has to be in the budget because it's not a small project.
UNESCO is also using the day to raise public awareness on the